Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Take It Out, and today we'll discuss about Spring Actuator. What is the use of Spring Actuator? And we'll integrate Spring Actuator with our Spring Boot application, and then we'll also develop few endpoints in Spring Boot, and we'll see those endpoints like integrate with nosql DB, which I will use mongodb here. And so here you will also come to know how to integrate your database with your Spring Boot application. We will also perform CRUD operations here, and then we will see in Spring Actuator what are the endpoints it provides and what kind of metrics it will provide. All those things we'll explore. And also we'll see when to use Spring Actuator and what is the usage of Spring Actuator, because it's a very good concept and lots of very good production ready features available in this. And then we'll also see how we'll integrate Swagger in our application so that you will be able to test your endpoints. And we'll also try to integrate the Spring Actuator endpoints with Swagger UI. Let's see whether it's possible to access those endpoints in Swagger UI or not. And that is something we have to try today. And then we'll also try Postman. We'll also test those endpoints in Postman so that you will also get to know how to use Postman for testing your endpoints. So for example, you can say what is Spring Boot Actuator? So Spring Boot Actuator is mainly used to expose certain operational informations like health, metrics, info, DOM, environment, like that. So many endpoints available or inbuilt to this Spring Actuator, and which is production grade and operational ready. So once you will deploy your application into production, then you can use those endpoints to analyze, to generate metrics, okay, and which will help you to understand how your application behaving in the production environment, okay, and depends upon that you can take your necessary actions, okay. So for example, you can check your health of your endpoints or the applications, whether suppose you have a couple of endpoints, right? So you have to see how many endpoints are up, running, how many are down, or any endpoints is not performing well, something slow, okay. All these things you can get to know, and you can also get to know how much memory space it is using, what is your heap space, what is your disk space, and all those things you will get to know. You can also analyze your threads by using your thread dump. You can also analyze your heap memory using your heap dump, and then you can get about your environment properties and how many bins you are using in your application. So all those things it provides upfront. Okay, and apart from that, there are so many other endpoints too. So depends upon your requirement, you can enable those. And you can also go through the reference documentation to explore more in depth. So this is a very high level definition about Spring Actuator. And let's start our application. Now you have to come to start.spring.io and you have to create a Java application or Spring Boot application. So here I'm choosing the Maven project, Java, and I'm choosing 2.7.3. And let's create the package. So take it out, and then we can say Spring Actuator demo. I'm using OpenJDK 11, so you can choose that, and you have to add dependencies. So we need web because we are going to write few endpoints, and it will be a web application. So web is the first one. The second one is definitely DevTools, okay, and third one is we are using Mongo database to do certain CRUD operations. And this is not related to actuator, but I want to show you in this application everything. Basically, the Spring Boot creating and managing databases with help of Spring Boot, integrating with Spring Actuator, then testing the endpoints by using Swagger as well as the Postman. So it's a whole package, okay, for beginners especially. And you can add dev tools, and here you can see, okay, I think I have added dev tools. Here you have to type Mongo. So when you choose Mongo, you have to choose the Spring Data MongoDB. And so you have added Spring Web, you have added dev tools, and you have added MongoDB. So dev tools is basically used for like each time it will do the hot deployment. So you don't need to start your server manually. So you can do your changes and automatically it will reflect, it will keep deploying on your server. And then we have to add the Spring Actuator. So for that, you have to search for ops and you will find the Spring Boot Actuator. Okay. And then we have to add Swagger, but Swagger is not available here. Okay. And also Spring Fox is also not available. Okay. So we have to add it manually. So after that, we can generate extract it, and then we have to import, and you have to do existing Maven project because we have created a Maven project, and you have to now just import, and it is importing, but you can check your Java version. See, the compiler should be 11, but if you have any other, you can choose it depending upon your Java installation. And here you can use, I am using JDK 11, so for me it's okay. And then we can see what are the dependencies we have added. So you can see we have created Spring Boot demo, and the version I have chosen 0.0.1, or you can choose like 1.0.0 snapshot. Okay. And we are using the Java version which is 11, and then I have added Spring Boot Starter Actuator. So this will do all this actuator job. It will provide all these endpoints, production grade operational endpoints to us upfront, so that we can use those endpoints to create metrics to generate or monitor our applications or to generate reports like that. And then we are using MongoDB for database operations. We are using Starter Web for creating, managing the endpoints, web application, and REST endpoints like that. We are using the dev tools for hot deployment or auto deployment without restarting your server manually. And then this is test for test cases, but we are not covering test cases in this tutorial, but just I have added. So this is pretty much simple. Okay. And then you have to come to your resource, and you have seen the application properties file is the default one. And what I will do, got changed. Okay, we have changed this. So let me save. So I'll show you here how to, like, using both application.properties file and application.yml file. Okay, so both. So let me create one more. So application.yml file. Here, what you need to add. So you can add few things because we need project version. Project dot version. Okay. So this project dot version, it will read the version information from our this version tag. Okay. And then we have to configure the Spring application name. So what is the application name of our application? So Spring, then application, then name. We can say it is Spring Boot Actuator demo. And here we have to use the other things we'll use later. So first we'll start with this much. Okay. And then we can come here and we have a main application, but we have to write a couple of more endpoints now. So for this, let me create a package. And this is my controller package. Okay. And here I need to create one class. I can say it is order process controller. So it will basically process our order. So when we'll place any order, so it will just capture all those informations. So this is the controller, and here I want to make this as a REST controller because I have to write REST endpoints. Okay, and then I have to now type. So first one will be, for example, I can write it's a public, and the method name is create order. Okay, and then what will be so when I'm creating the order, right, it will be a post endpoint. So I will write post mapping, and here I have to pass create order. This is my endpoint, and since it's a post mapping, so I have to pass request body, and then I have to pass the model object. So here I have to pass the order object, which needs to be stored order. And what will be the return type? You can make a void or something you have to return. So here I want to return whatever object will be stored in the database, the same thing I want to return. So for that, I will keep return type as response entity, and I'll say of type order. And then I will return. So now I will say null, but later I will modify. But here first we need to create the order. Okay, what is this order? It's a model. So now we'll create class order. Okay, so then we have to now create our own package, which is nothing but model. So in this model class, I have to annotate with document. So you can say it's a mongodb document. Okay, and then I need to add a couple of attributes. So for example, I need to add the unique key, which is nothing but ID. So I'll say private, and it will be always a string type. And this is nothing but the Mongo ID, which will be created. So when you insert any record, it will create automatically. So this ID will always a string type. So you have to say annotated with ID, and which is this. Okay. So then you have to say other attributes, which is again, when you place an order, you need order ID. So we have this order ID, which is again a string type. And then I'll say product name. Okay, which product I want to order. And then I'll capture quantity. And then I have to, so what is the price? And then last one is shipping address. And the constructor, this is the default constructor, and you can add the parameterized one. You can also add setter and getters. You can also add hash code and equals. You can also add toString. So these are the methods you need to add. Okay, and your model is ready. And here you come back to your controller and just import. Okay, your order is imported. And now I will return response entity dot okay. So here you have to pass your object, which is type order. So now this is ready, but you have to again write your business logic, right? Or that processing logic. So for that, you have to create your service. So let auto here, then you have to write private order process service. Okay, and here I need to create this order process service. So it will be an interface, and for that I need to create another package called service, and we need to create this method, and I will say throws exception, and I will say it will return order, and here we don't need a request body. Okay, and then what we need to do, we need to create the implementation class. IMPL, and you can provide your service. And here what you need to do, you need to save this order into a database. Okay, so for that you need to create repository. So for that you have to auto here your repository. So create private then order process repository. You can say order process repository, and then you have to create this. Okay, so let's create this. This is also an interface, and here you have to create another package called repository, and you can add, there is a Mongo repository. So now your order process repository is ready. And here, what is T? So T, you have to pass which object you want to perform your database operations. So this is nothing but my order object, import it. And this is nothing but your Mongo ID, which is the unique. Okay, and here, what is the data type of this? So it is always a string type. Okay, and here one more thing, since you are extending your Mongo repository, so adding repository annotation is optional, but it's better to add. But without add also it is working. So, but it's a better practice to use repository annotation here. And then we also forget to add service, add service annotation here in the service class. Okay, and then what you need to do, so now done, and then we have to come to our service IMPL. So here you can use this order process repository, and then what you need to do, you need to save. So there is a save method which can accept an object, and you can say order. And this one you can say, you can see this, it will return an object of type yes. So that means whatever you are passing, it will return of that type. So you can just, it will be a order type, and our return type is also order. So this one you can delete and just say return here. So this part is done, and come back here, and what you need to do, you need to just call your service implementation class. So here you have to create create order, and you are passing this order object. And what will be the return type? The return type of this will be order. Okay, and this order you are passing here, and it will just show you in a JSON format. And here you just have to throw your exception. And you can add your logs here. For that, I'll show you how to add. Here you can say logger. I'll use SL4J. Say log equal to you can use log factory dot get logger. You can say this dot get class. And here you can say log dot info created single order successful. Okay, so this is one endpoint done. And similarly, but here you have to see when this order repository, right, it will try to save your model. So where it will save, so it needs some database connectivity, right? So since we have not yet provided that, so which database, what is your data, like what is the connection details, and what is your actually the collection database name, we have not yet mentioned. So for that, you have to come to your application.yml file, and here you have to provide your database connection details. So for that, you have a Spring, then after that, data. So data will be a part of the Spring. And then you have to pass the MongoDB, because we are using this MongoDB. And in the MongoDB, what we are passing, okay. So here, this will be again MongoDB, and then you have to come to space, and here you have to use your database. So what will be your database name? I will say order process DB, and then you have to mention your host, which is nothing but local host in my case, and then port, which will be the default one, which is 270 and 17, which is the default port. And then few other things, if it is required in actually in real time, it is required. But here, if you are doing in your local, it's not required. But I'll just keep it ready so that you should know what you need to add. So there is a authentication database. So you have to type authentication hyphen database, and you have to mention your database name. So usually it will be the admin. Okay. And other case, if you have given any other name, you have to use that. And then you need to connect. So for that, you need username. Usually it will be the admin and the password. Okay. And so now our configuration is ready. And what we need to do, okay, so done. So we have to start our MongoDB. So I will assume you have installed and you have a setup already done for MongoDB. And if you are not, you can download the MongoDB and you can finish your setup and then start your MongoDB database in your local. So for that, you can start MongoDB, enter. So it will start your MongoDB database. And then you can use the editor. So here I'm using MongoDB Compass. And for local, this is my connection details. Okay. And see the MongoDB, which we have also given as a MongoDB database and host and port. Okay. You can see it here. And then I'll say connect. And you can see your MongoDB Compass editor. And here, if you can see, this is our default database. And when you will run, our database will create here. And let's then start our application. So before that, you have to do Maven update. If you're doing for the first time, it might be required. And then just build once, because you need to download dependencies. Once it will success, then we can start our application. So now we'll start our application. And you can see our application will start on 8080, okay, 8080, because we have not configured or overridden the port. And since we have also configured our Spring Actuator also by default runs on port 8080, okay, or 8080. So we can test both these endpoints. So now come to your Postman. Okay, so you need a Postman, and you can download Postman, and for that you can go to Google and type Postman download for your Windows or Mac, whatever you're using, and install. So once you install and finish your setup, then you can open your Postman. So your Postman is ready. So you have to click on this plus icon, and then it will show you the HTTP methods. So first we have to use the post, because we have to create, and then you have to see HTTP localhost 8080 / you have to type endpoint create order. And here you have to pass, because it's a post endpoint, you have to pass the body. So you have to choose body and a raw, and here you have to pass its JSON. And the order object, you have, if you see here, we have these attributes we have to pass. So I have a model ready. So I can choose this model. So this is a single model. So one model class we are passing, because it will take one by one, and it will create. Now it created one collection of Mongo. Okay, it created one collection in our MongoDB, which has order details. So let's go to your Mongo Compass and refresh. So your order process DB database got created, and you can see there is an order collection. And if you click on this, you will have your data. So this is the ID, which is again auto generated, and then order ID and your all these details. Okay, so similarly we can now check your actuators. Okay, so for that, what you need to do, you need to create another, which is a get endpoint. And so Spring Boot 2.x onwards, okay, basically 2.5 onwards, so these things got added. So after your port, there is a server colon port, then you have to pass actuator. Okay, followed by what are the endpoints you have to pass. But if you type only actuator, what will happen? So it will give you what are the endpoints actuator has exposed. So you can see here by default actuator only enabled health. Okay, so by default, like in the latest version I'm saying, so by default only health is enabled, all other endpoints are disabled. So you have to enable it through configuration. So we'll check that later, but this is you can just check initially what are the endpoints you are getting. So if you want to check this, right, just click on this and test. So it's saying your application status is up, means it's running. Okay, and nothing else. So you can see up to this because we have not added any Spring Boot Actuator configuration anywhere, right? And this is also blank. So this is the very you can say the basic one. Okay, and then our focus is to write a couple of more endpoints. So let's go to controller, and then at last we'll run the actuator. So let's create one more endpoint which can accept bulk of order object. So basically you can say create bulk order. Okay, and I will say create bulk order, and here I will pass list of order. Okay, and then here I need to pass list of order, and here I'll say create bulk order, and here I'll say orders created bulk order successfully, and I can return the orders. Couple of changes we need to do, and then we need to create this. So let's copy, and okay, so first go to the service, and I will say create bulk order, and this is the list of orders I'm passing. Okay, so these two methods we have added. Now go to your order processing, order service IMPL, and you have to add or override the create bulk order. Okay, so here what you need to do, the same thing you have to use here, but this time you have to use save all. There is another method which will do the bulk operation. It will save array of objects or list of objects to your database. Okay, and once this is done, it will return, and so that you can now test. So it will go to now Postman, and instead of create order you can say create bulk order, and here instead of passing a single object you can pass the complete array. Okay, and then you can simply click on send, and it will create all array object. Okay, and you can see, you can refresh here, you will get all set up order object created here. So now you have to write a couple of more. So I have to now fetch the orders, right? So for that, I need to write now public. I will say, give me all the orders. Okay. I will say, give me all the orders. So the return type will be a list of orders. Okay. And then I'll say, fetch all orders. Okay, and here what we need to do, so we will say this. So we'll create a list of order, which is orders, and then we can say fetch all orders. And we don't need any parameter here because we are fetching all the orders. Okay. And then what you need to do, we need to create return and then response entity dot. Okay. And we have to pass these orders. Okay. And now the endpoint. So this would be a get endpoint because we are fetching. So we have to type get mapping. And what you need to pass is orders. So if you say orders, then it will give you the all orders basically. So you need to create now this. So go to your order service and then you have to say this. And the return type will be this list of orders. And then you have to override and implement. So here what you need to do. So here you have to now use this. And you have a method called find all. Okay. So this find all will return the list of orders. So simply you can say return and the repository dot find all. That's it. And then here if you can come, you can add your logger here. You can say fetched all orders. Okay. All available orders. So now you have to also see, I don't want to fetch all the orders. I want to fetch a particular order by order ID. So you have to write one more endpoint. This is the last endpoint. So that will have all these endpoints ready. So here you have to just say order, then you have to pass order ID. You can pass order ID. And here you can say page order by ID, or by order ID. Okay. And you can pass here and you can say page. Okay. So here it will fetch only single order. So you have to say order, and here it will be a order object, and here also no list of orders, so it will be order only. And here you have to pass a path variable. Okay. And what you need to pass, you have to just pass this order ID. The name should be exactly match with this. So better copy and paste. And you have to mention the data type. So order ID is our string data type, which is defined in our order object, which is a string. So we can use string here. And this order ID we can pass to this. And now we can create this method. So we can say it will return an order object. This is the method name, which will take a string of type, means of order ID, and simply throws exception. And you have to now override this. And here what you need to do. So there is no method available saying find by order ID. If you see here, dot find by. Okay, find by ID is there. ID is nothing but your Mongo ID, but there is nothing predefined order ID or something, because this is something our customized attribute. So we have to write that method. So where we need to write, go to your repository, and here you have to say, I will write one method which will return order object. So order, which is a return type. Then I will say the prefix should be find by. So the syntax will be like this, because you will see all the methods available in this Mongo repository, like find by ID, find by one, find all, like that. So it should be prefixed by find by, and then by what? By the property called order ID. So you have to just copy these and then paste it here. And then you have to just follow the camel case. O should be capital. And then what is the return type? So return type is a string type, and it should be this order ID. Okay. So now done. But instead of returning order, so it will be a good practice to use. Okay. There is optional. Okay. And use this optional. So it will reduce your null pointer exception at runtime, which is good. So it will now return an optional order. Okay, you can go through this and learn more. And here, what we need to do, we'll create optional of order, which is again order. I'll say find by order ID, and we'll pass the order ID. That's it. And this order, what I need to say, okay, we'll say order dot, there is a method called or else. Okay, you can say null, or we can say basically new. This is the better. So it will just return the order object, and if it will find order object is null, then it will just simply, either you can return null object, or you can just simply create the object and which doesn't have anything, but at least it should not cause a null pointer exception. So then this is your service MPL, and come back to your controller, and then you'll get this order. And so, okay, so you are returning the order, and then what you need to do, fetch all available page order by order ID successfully. Okay, I think we have done everything. Let's test. So we have tested now create order and create a bulk order. Let's test orders. So you can come to this, and this is post. You can go here. This is the get now. Choose HTTP //localhost 8080 / orders. So it will give you the list of orders. Okay. And the second one is you can pass order ID. So basically, if you want to pass this order ID, it will also, okay, this is order, and then it will return the particular order. So now all these endpoints we have covered. So let's see the actuator part. Okay. So for that, we need to do certain configurations. So what configuration we need to add here is like one more thing we need to discuss. First, let's test that. So here you can see, where is my panel? Okay, so here you can see our actuator as well as our Spring Boot endpoints. Both are running in one port called 8080. So I just want to use separate one. Okay, so for that, what you need to do, you need to use server, and you have to use port. So you can use port 8088 for your Spring Boot. Okay, and then you can use, there is a for your actuator, you can use another endpoint. So for that, what you need to do, you have to use your management endpoint. Okay, so what is that? We can cover that is a management column. Okay, so here you have to use server, then you have to use your port, and here we'll use the port which is 9001. Okay, and then what you need to do is let's test with this, later we'll add, so we'll go slowly so that we can cover. And now let's run your application. So let's go to your actuator. Now this won't work, right? Because now the port changed into 9001, right? But if you go here, your port you are using now, this won't work because 8080 also not in use. So this one will work with 88. Okay, so we are using two different port, one for Spring Boot endpoints, other one is for actuators. Okay, so then when you're using actuator, you can see we are just getting only health. Okay, so how we'll get all these endpoints? So for that, we have to enable all those endpoints, because by default it is disabled in this latest version 2.5 onwards, Spring Boot version 2.5 onwards. So here you need to add, there is a called endpoints. So I will share the documentation, Spring Actuator documentation, where you'll find all these attributes. So no need to remember this. So in endpoints, what you need to add, so there is a another property called web. So in this web, there is one more called, you have to expose, right? That is exposure. You are exposing, you have to mention what are the endpoints you want to expose. So exposure, and then there are two more attributes within the exposure. So one is the include, you can say include. Okay, and here you can say start this. So you're basically saying include all the endpoints. Okay, let's test this. And you have to come to here. Okay, so here you will hit this actuator endpoints, you can see you are getting a lot more beans, cases, and then health and info, like that. So many things we're getting, right? And you can also try health. Okay, and you can also try beans. Okay, all these beans it will give you. You can check your bean as well. Suppose you have written order. See, this is our beans. And you can check even the order object. It will be somewhere down the line. And like that, all these beans you can check here. If certain beans are not able to create, then something you can analyze here. Okay, and how many beans you have created, and what are, which beans are in use, which are not in use, all those things, and which are singleton, all those things you can check it. And then you can also find there is one more called env, so you can check your environment setup, all this environment properties, whatever you have set up, you can check all those details. And then you can also have what else? So info, you can see we don't have like we have not configured any info in our application, so we'll get empty, but we'll check that. Like that, you have many. So the most important things also here, there is a heap dump, so you can try heap dump. So in Postman, you will get this error, depends upon the size. So you can try this even on the browser. So you can try this on the browser, so it will download your heap dump. Okay, but you need certain tools to analyze this heap dump. Okay, it is created, but to view this, I don't have that tool, but you cannot read it, right? So, but this is the heap dump to analyze your heap memory. And similarly, you can also check for thread dump, right? So it will give you all the thread details. So like that, pretty much endpoints you can cover. You can see the documentation how many endpoints actuator has, and you can just check each one. And then you can check the metrics. So you can say metrics, and it will give you the list of metrics here, right? So suppose I want to see what is the disk free space available. So you have to type like this, and it will give you the details. So similarly, you can check what is the total memory, and then something you can check here. Like all these things you can explore. I'm just checking. Let's see. So it will also give you the Tomcat session active, so which is currently active, the information about this. Like that, you can try all these metrics available. So that is the actuator, but again, it's not yet finished. So we'll explore more. So here, info also we are not able to see, and in health also we are just seeing only one status. Okay, so let's explore more. So now one more thing. So now you have seen we are assessing all these endpoints through actuator. I want to use my own endpoint. Okay, one name. So for that, what you need to do, so you need to specify one configuration. So for that, you can go to, so I will just show you in this actuator uh, properties. Okay, in the properties file, I'll just show you, because everything I have added here, I can also show you adding in the properties file, so that we can know each file how to set up or how to configure. So here you have again one property called management, and then you have to say endpoint. Okay, and then you have to say your base path. Okay, so for that, there is a web dot base hyphen path. So here, what is your base path? So you can say anything. So you can say, okay, so suppose mgmt. Okay, So here we have seen that the default endpoint, it was the actuator followed by your server name and port number. But suppose I want to give my own name instead of actuator. So in that case, we have another configuration which is called base path. So you have to add management.endpoints.web.base path. So whatever name you will give, now you will see. So if you click on this, so you are not able to access your actuator endpoints because this name changed to now this. So now you can access after this anything you can access. Okay, so that is one more configuration if you want to use your own name instead of actuator. So meanwhile, I'll just commit it out so that we'll use the default one, which is the actuator. So let's use. Okay, and now people use. Now we are getting all the endpoints. Okay, and people use health. It is showing very less information. So suppose we want to show all the details. So for this, what you need to do, you need to add a couple of more configurations. So here again, you have to add. Okay, so now here you can see the health endpoint. It is giving only up, so there is no group information here. And if you say then you will try, there is a group called custom, so you'll find nothing, empty. Okay, so let's see how we'll get those group information. So for that, you have to add these two configurations, and let's add one by one. So if you have to add this management endpoint health group, there is a custom group, and you have to say show components always. So if you add this, now it will check. So now it is showing status equal to up, but here now we health, and you will say the group information. So there is a called custom. So now if you access custom, you will get what is your disk space and the Mongo. It is showing just status. But if you need more details, then you have to enable this. So this is saying management endpoint health group custom show details, which is always. So always show the details. So it will show you all the detailed information. So we are using the MongoDB and it's showing all these details, right? And now what else? So we have added this. So other thing I will say, if you are using, okay, if you are not using Spring Security, okay, so you can just use this as a management dot, and there is a security dot enabled. So you can make it as false. So if you are not using Spring Security in your application, so nothing will happen. Just you can use that configuration. You can check here. So there is no change in the endpoint. Okay, and the next part is here. It will come and you'll say now actuator. So you can get all these endpoints. Suppose I want to now want to access all these endpoints except one. For example, I'll say caches. Okay, so what I need to do? So here there is one option, so you can use this. So similarly, you can use management.endpoint.web. So this much is common. We can use this. So management.endpoint dot there is a web dot and your exposure. Okay, and what you want to expose. So in that expose, you have to either use include and exclude items. So you can say include. So we have already mentioned include here. So we are saying management endpoint web exposure include. Okay, so here we want to use the exclude. We won't use the include. We'll use the exclude. So there is a exclude, and we'll say so exclude this CSCHES catches. Okay, so what will happen? So when you try actuator, okay, let's see the management dot endpoints. Okay, endpoints dot web dot exposure. Let's see. So here you have to use management dot endpoint. Okay, and there is a endpoints dot base path. Okay, so there is a few cases you have to use endpoint. So then that's why you can directly copy from the Spring documentation and you can use it so that you won't write wrong things. And so you can come here and try. So here you can see the case information is not here. But apart from that, you are getting all the endpoints. So like that, you have the now include and exclude we have tested. Then we'll have something called Spring security in your application. So you have to use this. So you have to use management.security.enabled flag equal to true. You have to use your role as admin. Okay, or if something else you have set up, you have to use that. Then you have to use your username, password, and so it will just enable your security. Okay, and apart from this, we have used all those okay, so pretty much we have used everything. So now what you have to do, we have to now check for another endpoint called /info. So this info we are getting empty. Okay, so let's configure that. So in our application that we can use the application.yml file for adding that information. You can also use your properties file, but we'll use this admin, application.yml file, and here we can choose our info. So for this info, you have to add info tag, and then you have to say application. You can give anything here. Instead of application, you can type anything, and then I'll say name. So application name, I will say SpringBoot Actuator. And then you can type your description. You can say demo on SpringBoot Actuator. Okay. And after that, you can even use version. Okay. So version, I will say it's 1.0.0 hyphen snapshot. So this is the information I have added. And then what you need to do, it will come here and type. You are still not able to see the information. Okay. Um, so information is nothing but the information about your application. You can give your static information here like this, or you can directly read dynamically. So that you can try here as well. But let's see why this information is not printing. So for that, you need to add one configuration. So what is that configuration? So here I will add it in this properties file. Let's see. So here you have to say management. So I'll just copy management dot. There is another tab called info dot environment dot enabled. So here what you need to mention, is true. And then you come here and try. So you'll get your application details. And apart from this, what else? Okay, we can try something reading dynamically. For example, what else? So let me see if I can. Let me try this. So here I'm using the project.name, but instead of project.name, it will be spring.application.name, and description I'm not using. So project version is true. So let's try this. And where you will find this, because in application YML, I'm using this project version. So project version I'm trying, and then Spring application name I'm trying. So these two things I'm trying. Let's see, but I'm also using this part. Let me see if I have to comment it out. No. So here I can assess my static information which I have configured. So both are static only, but something I have configured in our application YML file, which is this. And then in the properties file, I'm dynamically reading. Oh, so here the name. Okay, this one it read properly, but I'm using Spring application name. Okay, So now it is printing Spring Actuator demo. So project name, which is reading from the properties file, Spring Actuator demo. Okay, and then the description I'm using this. So yes, so you can use this one as well. Project name and description. So it will give you a description as well. So like this, you can enable your info tag. I think we have discussed pretty much everything. And the last one we'll see, we'll integrate our Swagger UI here. Okay. So we'll quickly just configure our Swagger into our project. Okay, let me close all. And here we need to create another package. So I'll say dot config. And here I will create one class. Okay. So this will be, we'll say, order process Swagger config, and we can just create this class. So since it's a configuration class, you have to annotate with add configuration annotation. And but before going with Swagger, we need to add the dependency we have not yet added, right? So for this, I have the Swagger somewhere here. Yes, you can download from Google, and I'm using, you can see, Swagger UI 3.0.0, Starter 3.0.0, and Swagger 2. So these three you require, and you can copy these. And let me stop. For me, sometimes it's not working, so let me just do this update. And then let me do a Maven build. So here we'll see it's pretty interesting things. What I am trying here, I want to try all these actuator endpoints on Swagger UI. So I will show you all the Spring Boot endpoints we can find and we can test on Swagger UI. But whether is it possible to find or to show all these actuator endpoints on Swagger UI or not. So here, what error we are getting? So it's clearly saying this bin, which is related to Swagger, is held to create. Okay, and you are saying application context also failing like that, right? So if you get such kind of error, that means it is related to the matching strategy. So what is this matching strategy? And I'll just quickly show you. If you go to my video, like the video where I have covered all this matching strategy. So you can go through this video. So which covers Spring Boot and the matching strategy, different types of matching strategy, and the examples on this. Also, I have covered the Spring Boot latest version integration with Spring Fox Swagger API, and then the issues related to the matching strategy, how to resolve this. So please go through these two so that you can get more information on this. And now The problem is related to the matching strategy. So how to fix this? So for this, what you need to do? So here you need to add your matching strategy. So this matching strategy, you have to go to the application YML file, and here what you need to add is like after the Spring. Uh, so Spring Boot, the version 2.5 onwards, okay, both Spring Boot and Spring Actuator, they're using the default matching strategy, which is path pattern parser. And before 2.5, it was using and path matcher. But the Swagger API, it is still thinking or assuming that Spring Boot and Actuator, they are using the matching strategy, which is and path matcher, but which is not correct because now Spring Boot is using path pattern parser. So we have to, if you are using Swagger, we have to explicitly mention that please use and path matcher instead of path pattern parser. But we cannot override this matching strategy for Spring Actuator. We can only override for Spring Boot application, not for Actuator. So Actuator can only support the path pattern parser matching strategy. Okay, so here what we okay, so now the build is success, and then we can okay. So now come back to your our Swagger application. So here we need to add one more annotation that is called enable Swagger 2. Okay, and then we have to write one abstract class, which is nothing but the base class for Swagger config. And here we can give a name as base Swagger config. Okay. Oh, okay. So you have to use abstract. And here what you need to do, we need to read now in the Swagger UI, we have to show the application name as well as the description and the app version. Okay. So for this, we have to use now we have to read the values from the properties file. So for this, we have to say private string app name, and here we have to use add value annotation, and here what you need to pass. So here you have to pass whatever the properties, what are the attributes we have defined in our application YML file. So this is Spring application name. So we have to use this as spring.application.name. So which will return the app name basically. And similarly, we can see this is the app name, and we can say app version. And here you can say it is a project. So here we have defined this project.version. So we'll say project and version, our version, and we can also try so here we have tried project description. Okay. But we don't have any description defined, so it's okay. So we are just need these two. Okay. And okay, and then we have to write one bin. So for that, add the bin annotation. Okay, and then you have to say public, and which kind of bin you have to return for this Swagger. So Swagger required a bin of type docket. So this is the bin Swagger need, and the method name you can say API, and which will, here you need to return the object of docket. So you can say new, and you can pass docket, and here you have to pass your documentation type. So here documentation type dot, you can say swagger2. Okay, and then you have to provide your API information. So dot, you can say API. So you have to provide your API information, where you have to create API info class. So here you can say API info. This is your own method. So just create your own method here. So create method, which you are returning object of API info, and API info is a Swagger SpringBoot bin or object. So what you need to do here, you have to create the API info object. So here, how will create? So for that, you have to use API info builder. Okay, and okay. So new API info builder, and then you have to pass certain values, like you have to see you have passed the title. Okay, the title for the API. So this title is nothing but our app name. Okay, and then you have to pass version. So this is nothing but the version of the API. This is app version. Okay, and after that, what you need to do is just create the, you have to say build, so it will create the API info object. And now you can get your API info object and pass it here. And then here you have to use there is one method called select, which will give you the API selector builder. And then you have to choose a couple of other things, like what kind of APIs you want to accept, okay, or you want to allow. So APIs, you have to pass the predicate. So in this predicate, you have to pass a request handler selectors, request handler selectors, okay, and then dot, and you have to say there are a couple of methods I have to pass any. So predicate that is always true. So we'll say any. Okay, and then what else? So dot, and here you have to set the paths. So here there is what are the endpoints you have to allow. So here I'll say I'll pass any. So here you have to say path selector selectors dot any. So I don't want to mention any specific path here. So any endpoint. Okay, and then just build and just format it, and like that we have created our Swagger config class. And then in our order process Swagger config, you have to simply say extends base Swagger config. That's it. Now you can just start your application. Okay, so our 9001 is for Actuator 8088 is for Spring Boot endpoints. Okay, so now now we want test on Postman. So let's go to our swag. So here you have to say http colon / localhost colon 8088 / and then you have to say Swagger UI. So here you will get your order processing endpoints. Okay, so here you can even anything you can create, you can fetch all the orders, right? And you can pass your any order ID, for example, here, and you will get your order details. And you can also try the similar way here. So this is the array, you can pass array of objects and it will insert. Now, if I want to see all these actuator endpoints, okay, all these endpoints in Swagger, I want to see that. So that is the next part. And we'll try, but it has some issues. I'm not able to see all these actuator endpoints on Swagger UI. And so here, what you need to do. So we need to add a couple of configurations for Swagger, like to show the actuator endpoints on Swagger. Okay, but it is working on the version Spring Boot 2.5.0 before 2.5.0. So after the Spring Boot 2.5.0, I think this is not working. So what you need to do, I'll just show you. I have that couple of configurations and I'll just put with the comment. So I will put up to this. And here, if you can see, Spring Actuator support on Swagger and OpenAPI. There is an OpenAPI as well. So please refer the documentation. You can get all these details here. Okay. And we need to add this. There is a Spring doc.use management port. This flag needs to be true. Okay. They are saying to show all these actuator endpoints on your Swagger UI, you need to add these configurations. One is Spring Doc use management port should be true. Then the next one is this property enables the OpenAPI and Swagger UI endpoints to be exposed beneath the actuator base path. Management.endpoint. So this one, I have commented it out because I am using here as / okay, /star. That means I am accepting all. So no need to mention this. Even all means the Swagger UI also part of this. Even I've tried on commenting this. So I've tried all, so it is still not working, but I've just put it here so that you can try. But looks like it might be the open issue. And then you need to also enable Spring Doc Swagger UI enabled. This also needs to be true. And then Spring Doc show actuator. This also needs to be true. So this part you need to add. And this one is actually working before 2.5.0. And because after that, lots of changes happened. And I don't know whether it is again related to the matching strategy or something else, or I missed a couple of more configurations, but I'll still try. If I'll find the solution, then I will mention in the video in the comment. So when you go to Swagger, then what you need to try is the endpoint is now pointing to 9001. Okay, and Swagger UI won't work here. Okay, so because before that we need to pass actuator, and then Swagger UI. This is the right URL. But here you can see we are getting this 404, not found, no message available for this. Okay, so it is not working, and I tried all these configurations. So guys, it is up to you. So open questions, open issues for all my viewers. So please come with the solution. Okay, and if you like my video and if you really learn all these things like Spring Boot and then integration with the Mongo database, write some CRUD operations, integrate with Spring Actuator, then explore each and every endpoints of Spring Actuator, then learning how to configure your Swagger API, and then testing the endpoints on Swagger API, and then find the issues on the Swagger API. And then I have also shown you the Postman, how to test couple of endpoints. So it's a whole package for the beginners, most probably. So if you like my video, please subscribe and comment. And please like click on the bell icon as well. Okay, and thank you so much, and I will come with some interesting videos as well. Thank you.